Tucker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be talking about selling. Uh, we could subtitle this Zero to Hero. Don't do it. Don't zero to hero. I'll explain what that is. But let me first explain what is selling in the first place. So, selling is making someone believe that what's happening to your character is actually happening to them. What it looks like is actual fact. So in role-playing games, you don't need to do this to a tremendous degree. You don't need to. It's an enhanced technique, an advanced technique. But when you do use it, it can add a lot to the game, especially combat. It's a great technique for enhancing your combat experience. So selling is acting like you're in combat. Selling is especially acting like you've been hurt, you've been hit, you've been wounded or injured, and you're feeling the pain, but usually you're fighting through it, right? Because if one guy walks into a fight and he just crushes everything around him, think about the movie Troy, think about Achilles. He just walks through the fight and he kills everyone who gets in his way, everyone within 10 feet of him as he strides forward. He never gets hit. If he does get hit, he ignores it. This guy is the Juggernaut, bitch. And you don't want to be the Juggernaut, because at the end of the day, the Juggernaut's going to run into a glass ceiling where it's like, okay, you're invincible. Okay, you're badass. Like, that's easy to get there when you're no-selling, when you're ignoring these hits. But you have nowhere else to go that's higher. So if it's like a really short scene and you want to establish your character as badass, maybe it's a valid technique. Maybe. Probably not. So let's contrast with the guy who knows how to sell. So let's look at, I'm trying to think if I can find a good literary example. Let's look at Ajax from that same film. I don't know if you recall, but Ajax is going through and he's beating the shit out of peeps as he goes. But one of them gets him. He gets an arrow through his thigh. He falls down. He's clutching the arrow. Blood is pouring out into the sand. Right? So you might be reticent to do this because, he looks weak now. But what he does, he grits his teeth. He snaps off that arrowhead. And he stands up. Now he's enraged. And he brings it harder than he did before. So now you think, he is badass. Because you're not a real badass until you've been beat down and you made a comeback. Right? You can walk in there as a Juggernaut and you're just invincible. I don't feel that you have any heart, any fighting spirit. If you're just invincible, you never get to show it. It's like Superman. Superman's often accused of not having this real fighting spirit that Batman has, because Batman will get beat to shit. Clayface will hurl him against a wall. His ribs when he gets up. He's crawling. He pulls himself up. And he's trying to fight Clayface, and every time he goes for that left, his ribs pull him down again. And when Batman finally wins, how much more badass is that? That he was able to suffer adversity and still win, versus someone like Superman would just walk in and toast Clayface, So you definitely want to sell. Every time you get hit, make sure to describe, either you describe or the GM to describe where you've been hit at, so you can sell that injury. When I'm GMing, I always tell my characters, okay, you've taken 4 points of damage or whatever. I sometimes I'll track all their HP and I'll just tell them you've taken a hit to your left arm. Your arm is numb. But usually I'm too lazy to do that. It's a great technique, but I'm usually just too lazy to do it. So I'll just tell them, okay, you take 4 hit points. Please describe how you're hit. And that's a great chance for the player to say, oh, okay, well, my character is a very skillful finesse, kind of bravos blade fighter. So if he is going to get hit, it's going to be, they're not going to overcome his skill because he has maximum skill. But they might fight dirty because I'm so rigidly honorable. So maybe if I take 4 points of damage, oh, this guy kicks sand into my face, and as I turn away, that's when he takes his swipe with his cutlass, and he sliced my arm open, right? So now you've described how you took the hit, so you've described your weakness, which adds so much flavor to your character. And then, as you're coming back and making your fight, you can be holding on to this arm, and you're stabbing with your opposite hand, doing whatever your sword fighting style is. And I'll do another video on differentiating your fighting style from anybody else, even characters with the same weapon as you. But we're talking about selling right now, so sell that injury. If your arm has been cut, sell that. I keep coming back to it, keep holding onto that arm. Describe how the blood's soaking down on your whole sleeve. Looks like your arm has been dipped in blood. Your sleeve is red and ruined. So come back and do that. So that is what selling is. And it's a great technique because by getting beat down, you look even more heroic when you make a comeback and overcome that adversity that struck you down versus someone who just wades through. They suffer no adversity, so it doesn't mean as much when they win. They were obviously going to win. There was no drama. They just steamrolled it. They were the juggernaut. So you always want to get more drama out of your character. And sometimes, you could have that character, especially as a GM, who is the juggernaut. He just comes in, nothing can touch him. And this can create a certain mystique around him. And then having him finally start selling, it's like, whoa, whatever he's selling for gets really pushed to the moon. So you can do a couple things with guys who no sell, but you only want a couple of them. You really, really limit that. So that's selling. Now, what is zero to hero? Because that's what I really wanted to talk about. Zero to hero is when you are selling. So let's say, I'm trying to think of what was a good injury. So you've got a limp. Somebody has crushed your leg. They stomped on your knee in an awkward angle while they beat you down on your shield. So you're limping. You're limping around the battlefield and trying to defend yourself, but you don't have good footwork. Without footwork, you're in a lot of trouble. What zero to hero would be is if you stop selling to make your comeback. If you suddenly just stop limping and you launch into a whirling dervish display and you're bashing with the shield, spin around, backhand with the sword, spin around again, backhand with the shield. So if you're coming in like that and you do your comeback and maybe you win the combat, but you've been ignoring your injury. So when you make your comeback, make it in spite of the injury, not ignoring the injury. So that's what zero to hero is. That's a lot of people who are new at selling fall into that trap. So when you make your comeback, make it while selling. Fight through the pain. Don't have the pain disappear. Don't ignore the pain. Fight through the pain to make your comeback and a win. Now again, this is an advanced technique, but it is a really fun technique to use, and it can really kick your fight scenes up another notch, So let me think if there was anything else I need to say about the zero to hero. Oh, I'll mention aftermath. That's it. So after the battle, keep selling. That's when you want to be. You're holding your leg and you're really selling that your kneecap's been dislocated. You tape your leg up and you're limping around. Get yourself a crutch, perhaps. That's when you want to come through and show the aftermath of combat. and just show that you've just been beat up real bad. You know, you got bruises all over your arm just from your shield slamming against it. Perhaps your calluses on your sword hand have been busted open just by swinging the sword so much or so hard. Really put through that this combat was deadly dangerous and you only barely survived. And also, this is how your, if we want to go to a little bit of metagame territory, this is how your group's healer, Game of Thrones, that's how their Meister would know that you need help and healing. Or this would be how in your more typical fantasy setting that your priests of Shalia would know that you need some healing, or maybe a mage of the Light Order. So they would hit you with some healing, because you might be doing it for those metagame reasons. You shouldn't be. You should be doing it for cinematic reasons. But what you should definitely not be doing is saying to if Charles is playing Sauvage as his character, I wouldn't go to Charles and say, "Oh, hey Charles, my character has only got 3 hit points. Get Sauvage to heal me," because that's metagaming. First of all, don't talk out of character. Second of all, don't discuss game mechanics in character. Don't tell them how injured you are. Both those are tremendous immersion breakers. That's when metagaming is really bad, when it breaks immersion. You can do some metagaming stuff to increase immersion. That's fine. That's great. So not all metagaming is bad, but asking for healing out of character is bad, and saying exactly how much healing you need, that's always bad. In character, if your character would, you can ask, ask that priestess of Shalia, please lay the blessings of the Mother of Mercy down upon my shattered knee. Please help me. And she'll come down and she'll get you to offer up a prayer or a sacrifice or a tithe to Shalia. And as she prays with you, you find the wound closing, find your kneecap relocating itself perhaps. So aftermath, also very important aspect of selling. The pinnacle of selling, if you want to be the best at selling, remember, don't 0 to hero. If you can overcome that, you're a master. You got 5 ranks now. You can't go any higher than to avoid the 0 to hero syndrome. Okay, I'm going to sign out now. I hope that's helpful. I hope it improves everybody's combat scenes. And I hope everybody has a good day in YouTube land as well.